I'm just sitting here at my desk and I thought that I should share with you some of my time management tips. So my first tip is to use a planner or Google Calendar. Now the reason that I like Google Calendar is because it's digital and you can easily move things around, but I actually personally like pen and paper, so I use a planner. Now when you get a planner, make sure that it has the same vertical sort of layout, or maybe it's called horizontal layout, but the same sort of layout that Google Calendar does, where it goes down vertically and you can see your time throughout the day. The reason that's so nice is because you can easily block your time and you can see where are my free chunks really easily. If you or your spouse have flexible schedules, then I would also include theirs on there also. So what I do is I have my own schedule down the first column, and then on the side I make notes as to when my husband's working, because since his schedules and my schedules are both flexible, then we can choose to be working at the same time and to be free at the same time, so we get more time alone together. And we typically figure out when we're going to be working the night before or the week before. So a lot of people consider the start of your day to be the evening before, and you'll notice that you have the same mood the night before that you did the morning that you woke up. So make sure that you set the intention right and you plan out your day the night before, and in best cases the week before. That way your day doesn't happen to you and you get to happen to your day, and you get to have a real meaningful impact on it. The next tip is when you put things on your to-do list, what I like to do is the night before I think, okay, this is what I have to do. So I write down I have to do laundry, I have to check my emails, I have to grade this assignment, and I make a list of everything that I have to do. Once I'm done with the basic list of what I have to do, then I write out basically the micro list. What is every single step? Well, I'll have to open Google Classroom, I'll have to open the Google Forms, I'll have to grade the responses, then I'll have to import it, then I'll have to transfer it to Infinite Campus. So what I like to do is kind of batch my process. So at the beginning I have kind of the creative thinking, brainstorming, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, and it would require this, 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 and this. The next day, once I get to my actual list, I want to basically be a robot. I want to just do it. I don't want to have to do any thinking. I don't want to have to think about what tab to open, because it's during that time, you know, when you're losing steam, that then eventually you stop being productive and then you just give up on the task altogether. So if I just really outline it and make it very clear what I have to do, and I outline every single step, then it makes sure that it'll get done, and then I feel a little boost of motivation, like, oh, got a little thing done, got a little thing done. And each task isn't like a couple hours long. Each little task is like a minute long, and then you feel a lot more success because you're, seeing your results quickly. My next tip is in my planner, and this is what's nice about blocking as well, is you need to set an end time. Normally I would just say, okay, I want to start grading at 9 o'clock. And then I wouldn't really fill my schedule up with things that I wanted to do. And if there was no end time, there was no pressure on myself to start on time. So I would end up starting later. I'm just sleeping in, doing things that are ultimately important to me. And then I wouldn't get my tasks done on time. So what I've started doing is whenever you have a task, you have to assign an end time to it. Well, you're accountable to yourself. And there's a pressure. If I don't start on time, I will not end on time. And so I like to block it. There's start and an end time to my tasks. And then to make sure that I'm meeting that deadline, I'll set an alarm on my phone for 5 minutes before, or you could set it right on the time if you wanted, but I like to set an alarm 5 minutes before I want that task to be done, just as a reminder, okay, you got 5 minutes left, get it done, you gotta move on to the next task now. And it provides a sense of accountability to myself. Speaking of your phone, this is my next tip, and you need to control your notifications. So I always, no matter what time of day it is, I've only set up notifications to come to my lock screen if they are texts or phone calls. Nothing else. I don't allow Instagram, Pinterest, nothing. No other notifications. Because when those notifications come up, they're so distracting. And so even when I'm doing work, if I don't want to be interrupted, I will set on airplane mode if I'm in the middle of tasks. So make sure that you're controlling your phone. It's part of work, that's one thing, but if you're not doing work that's on your phone, you don't want to be distracted by things that are on your phone. My next tip is also about technology, and it's about managing your computer. So since we've all been at home for a little longer recently, I've had a lot more work on my email. And one thing that I noticed is, I would have tabs open. I would have my work email open, then I would have my YouTube stuff open, and then I would also have social media open. When you have all those tabs open, then when you open your laptop, you're like, ooh, 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 and then I would, get distracted for 20 minutes, and I was like, wait, what did I come on here at? What was the whole reason that I came on here for? I don't even remember. So my strategy is, if I don't want to be doing it, I don't allow myself to open that tab. So only have tabs open for the things that you want to be doing, because it can be very distracting. And then when I would see an email notification for my school, over to that email I would go. But I hadn't batched that time to be school time. So I was really wasting time, and I was taking away from things that I wanted to be doing in order to keep getting interrupted by my school email. One thing that can be really distracting when you're in the middle of getting things done is you have all these other to-do items rolling around in your head. Oh no, I need to do laundry. Oh no, I'll need to do this. Oh no, I'll need to do this. Anytime you have a thought like that, you need to write it somewhere and associate it with time. So when I say write it somewhere, I mean like Google Calendar, or I mean your planner. As soon as something is distracting you and it's in your head and you have a goal or a to-do item, say attach it to time and equate it with time. When do I need to address this? And then put it for that time. So for example, sometimes I'll get emails that say, you need to do this by May 30th. And it requires money, and I haven't allocated it for that paycheck. So I'm like, this isn't really important to me right now. This will be important to me once I get my next paycheck and I can allocate it. So one thing I'll do is I'll say, okay, it's a to-do item. I don't want this to sit in my email for all this time, so I'll snooze it for the time that it will be important to me. And that time's not going to be for a couple weeks maybe, or I'll write it down in my planner for a couple weeks. Anytime you have a to-do item that you're not going to do right now, go ahead and write it down for some other time. Got to set it somewhere. Planner, Google Calendar. I use reminders on my phone a lot, like remind me when I get home to do this. And so that's a really great tip. Basically, anytime something's rolling around in your brain, it's taking up mental energy, and we don't want it to be taking up mental energy or away from the things that are currently at hand. So if something rolls into your brain and you have not allocated time to deal with it right now, just go ahead and write it down, associated with time somewhere else when you can deal with it. Say, okay, next week I'm going to deal with this. Or if in your brain you say, oh, I forgot to call my mom, I need to call my mom this week. Write it down in your planner when you want to do it. If you don't have time to do it right now, just pick a time that you want to do it, and it's out of your brain. And then you can focus at the task at hand. The next tip is one that I am so bad at doing, and it's not something that I generally gravitate towards, but I've been realizing that I had a terrible eating schedule, and I wouldn't allocate time for water and eating, and my natural inclination, my personality, is just to forget to do it. I would literally forget to drink water. I would go until 2 o'clock and didn't realize I had eaten. For me, that's something I need to put in, and I think everyone has that thing for them, where maybe it's your body or your friends or work. You know, everyone has that thing that they aren't naturally inclined to focus on. For me, it's my body and drinking enough water and eating enough food. So make sure that you do that. That way it won't be forgotten. You know, work isn't the only important thing to add to your to-do list. I mean, it's important to schedule in family and friends and eating and time for processing and taking care of your emotions. You know, you're a three-dimensional person, and make sure your schedule reflects that. And then one last thing is that, you know, sometimes there's something on your to-do list and it doesn't get done. It doesn't get crossed off, which I recommend doing, by the way, crossing off things so you feel a little bit more accomplished. Sometimes you don't get something done. You weren't as productive as you wanted to be. When that happens, it's important that you make a plan for when you're going to do it. Okay, I didn't get that done. I'm going to schedule it for tomorrow. Remember, it gets associated with time. All these goals have to get associated with time. If you forget to do something, it needs to be rewritten down somewhere. Otherwise, it just turns into shame. I mean, honestly, one of the biggest obstacles that I face when having a to-do list is if I don't do something, I feel so much shame and I feel so bad. But I just want to let you know that it's okay. And that shame and beating yourself up is what's keeping you from further reaching your goals. And so if you can just keep pressing on, and if you can try to say, you know what, I did the best that I could today, and then you can move on and you can give yourself some acceptance, and then you're able to not delay it anymore, because I think shame is the biggest source of procrastination. So just give yourself some grace. Let me know what other productive tips that you have, and if you found that, you know, shame is impacting your to-do list, and if it is, you know, impacting you in any way. I just want to say that you're doing a great job. You know, not many people are reading books or trying to better themselves, and the fact that you're trying to be more productive and try to make the most use of your life is really admirable. So I love you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I